ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם שהכל נהיה מדברו. So good morning. This is our third class. So Baruch Hashem, a third is a chazaka. So Bezrat Hashem, from here we should continue in having the rest of the shiurim. When something repeats itself 3 times, this is called a chazaka. There's a strong foundation. Bezrat Hashem, from here we should grow. I can tell you that many more thousands of viewers enjoy these shiurim. The shiurim, they go online. They go also on audio on SoundCloud and iTunes. So Baruch Hashem, I didn't look exactly at the count, but I think it's around 10,000 views. So we have a lot of good followers on our screen. So Baruch Hashem, the zchut is much more than the ones who are here present, even though to hear it live is totally different. So the topic we chose for today is about Chinuch, about educating our kids. And Bemet, this is a course, not a class, because a class will not even do justice to the topic. The topic should be learned in depth and should be spoken in length. And really, who should put most of the emphasis into that is the heads of the generations, which nobody's really giving enough attention to the topic of educating the kids, both in the religious world and the secular world. Even though we're going to look now more in the religious aspect of it, but even in the secular world, the whole concept of chinuch, of educating the kids, is totally neglected, both in the Jewish world and in the non-Jewish world. We're going to try to more concentrate on the Jewish world today and in the frum world, but in general, it's such a neglected topic. And when you really think of it, the education of the kids is the foundation and the base for everything. Because if you're looking at it in a very limited way, then we come down to this world for 67 years and then you leave. But really, what keeps us having a continuation is our kids, and then the grandkids, and then the great-grandkids. Because if you're looking at it in a very, very limited physical way, then you come here for 67 years and then you go. 80 years if you're lucky. But then what? If you don't leave something behind, then what continues you? And you see many people that unfortunately don't have kids, or very sad, and especially in the States, you see that people intermarried, and then one side is not Jewish, and then it totally cuts off the chain. And that's really our continuation. Is what we leave behind us is our kids, and our grandkids, and the great-grandkids. And you see many people that if you look in the past, you see how great the person was by the offsprings. And not too long ago, I met an amazing family, and I quoted the Shala Kadosh, and she told me, I'm a great granddaughter of the Shala Kadosh. And recently I also met another individual with an amazing story, and as we're talking, I was mentioning a certain rabbi in the Chabad dynasty, and he told me, I'm a great-grandson of the Mittler Rebbe, who's called Dov Ber. So amazingly, we see that when somebody leaves a mark in the world, then the legacy continues and continues. And the original one that you can see that left a mark in the world is our original father, which is Avraham Avinu. And if you notice, everyone in our history got a title. Well, not everyone, but the major ones. So we see Moshe got Moshe Rabbeinu. He's our teacher. He gave us the Torah. And David HaMelech. Even though there was many other kings, but David got a title HaMelech. Yosef got Yosef HaTzadik. And Avraham got our title Avinu, our father. Because this is the beginning. And Avraham Avinu, Bechlal we see we have 3 fathers, Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov. These are the basics and the foundation of our nation. That's how it started. And what they paved, what the path that they started, we inherited it. That's why we see every day we pray. What is the first thing that we say in the Tfilat Shmona Esrei? Elokei Avraham, Elokei Yitzchak, Velo Yaakov. Why am I not saying Elokei Moshe, or Noach, or David, or anyone else? Why dafka these 3? spiritually, what happens when I mention these three names, when I start Tfilat Shmona Esrei, I'm arousing their merits, because my merits is not enough to turn to the Kadosh Baruch Hu and pray, because I'm nothing. And if I come with a bag full of sins that I did in the last week or month or year, who am I to stand in front of the Kadosh Baruch Hu and open my mouth? So I mention my fathers, because I'm coming with the merit of my fathers. So I mentioned all three of them. But each one of them actually paved the path of our lineage. So Chinuch is the most important thing. Eventually, yesterday I spoke with a young mom, and she told me, I don't like being a mom. It's very hard for me. I don't want more kids. And I don't like it. I didn't ask to be a mom. And I told her, you don't ask to be a mom, it's a zchut. There are thousands of women there that crying their eyes out every day because they can't be a mom. And people will lose kids. And you, Baruch Hashem, have the merits. Kadosh Baruch Hu gave you 4 souls to take care of. This is a zchut. Don't complain. Besides, you see that for 20 to 25 years, Hashem says, okay, you can go free, do whatever you want. Then you get married, and for about 30 years, give or take, you are devoted to your kids. So the whole concept of chinuch is really the most important thing in our life. Because essentially, first of all, if I pave the right way to my kids, if I want to look at it in a very selfish way, I'll have nachat. I'll have an easy life. Because the way how I'll raise my kids, that's how they're going to reflect back. Now a lot of people, when they have already teenagers, they're going through a very hard time. Because the teenagers, whether they don't listen, they go off the derech, they rebel, they do all sorts of things. And there's no greater sorrow for a parent to see their child going in a path they don't want them to go. And in essence, it doesn't matter how old you are. You can be 70 and 80. Your kids are still your kids, even if they're 50. They're always your kids. You're always going to call them Puchinu, Muchinu, all these little the names. He can be 60, you still call him by the nickname. Now really, when you're looking at it, the real chinuch of the kids is not necessarily to the little ones who run in the house. It's for us. We're the kids. We might look like adults, but we are kids. We're just big kids. And the chinuch is mainly for us. I mean, it manifests into the young ones, but ultimately, each kid that you get comes to represent one mirror in your life that you have to look and you see everything that you need to correct in yourself through the kid. So one kid will be real chutzpan, very misfit. So you have to work on your attribute of patience. And one kid will be a certain type. You have to work on your attribute of tolerance. And each kid will come to push one button. The thing is that the whole concept of chinuch, you know when you master it, when your kids are already out of the ham. They're like, oh, if I knew now if I knew then what I know now, then things would look different. The point is to kind of first of all realize and to understand the general idea of chinuch. And the general idea is that I got the merit from the Master of the Universe to raise a couple of his children. And I'm the architect and the engineer of the next generation. So the responsibility is not necessarily just for my own sake that I want to have nachat, that I want to have peace and quiet. I have a moral responsibility to society. I'm designing the next generation. I'm designing the whoever's going to continue after us. More than that, this is what I'm going to leave behind. What I do will actually put the imprint on the children, which eventually will put the imprint on their children, and so forth. And really, when you're looking at it, when parents, who are they have pride in? They don't have pride necessarily in their kids. They have pride in the grandkids. Now, how you design the child, that's the pattern it will continue. It's like clay. However you're going to kvetch it for whatever amount of time, this is the shape it's going to get. But once you leave it alone, that's it dries. And that's how it's going to stay. So the responsibility of the importance of Chinuch is, needless to say, that it's way beyond anything else. It's the highest priority. Mainly because I have an obligation to the Master of the Universe that deposited these souls in my hands. And he tells me, not only that I want you to raise them to believe in me, and to fear me, and to serve me, you have to design their personalities. Now it goes all the way back, and we started talking about it last shiur, that it starts how the child is being conceived. I even went back even more how it is that how the parents meet each other. Because if you're looking at it in a very mystical and spiritual way, the soul of the mother and the father, the husband and wife, is one soul. It's one soul that before it comes down to this world, there's an angel that cuts the soul in half. One piece of the soul goes into the female, one piece of the soul goes into the male. One falls in New York, one falls in Chicago, or wherever. For 20, 30 years, they're looking around for each other, and then they finally find each other. And then they fall in love. Because there's a certain spark that belongs to me in that other person. And that other person has a spark that belongs to them in me. So the attraction, if it's based on the right way, then the attraction is natural, because the sparks, like a magnet, they fit well. Now originally it's one soul. Now when a man and a wife are together, it's basically God giving them godly powers to bring another life into the world. This is the first mitzvah that we got. The Torah just started. The book just started. And the first mitzvah that we got, be fruitful and multiply. So it all starts even way before. People think, and they look at things based on the birth date. People like analyzing, the personality according to the birth date, and the month, and the sign. This is all true. But it's much more accurate from the night it was conceived. The Zohar gives accurate calculations that if you really take a note, when the husband and wife were together, which is very easy to know, if you keep a note, when was the day of the mikveh, you can kind of know more or less when it was. The Zohar gives accurate calculations that if you know the time of the day even, and the time of the year and the month and everything, you have literally the DNA of the neshama. Where it came from, what it has to do, why it came. And it all starts with how the parents conceive the child. Because if they conceive the child in Kedusha, in holiness, then the child gets dressed into holy garments. Our soul is so holy that in order to interact with this world, it has to get dressed into garments. Now our soul is built from 5 levels. The highest level of our soul is called Yechidah. We mentioned it in the last show, I'm just going to repeat it for the new ones. The highest level of the soul is called Yechidah. Comes from the word Yichud, not Yachid. Yachid is one, there's only one Yachid, and that's the Kadosh Baruch Hu. But Yichud is unity. But a unity that is more powerful than anything else. This is why when couples get married, some sects don't do it, but most of the sects, they go into the Yichud room. And the Yichud is unity. So this level of Yechidah, it's one piece with the Kadosh Baruch Hu. This is called Chelek Elokah, a piece of God, because it's constantly Beyichud, 100%. The next level underneath it is called Chaya. Chaya, in English they call it aura, like a surrounding light, or makif. The term the Kabbalistic term to that is Tzelem. B'Tzelem Elokim Nivra Adam. Tzelem is the shape that the soul gets dressed in it. And then we have Neshama, Ruach, and Nefesh. These are the low levels of our soul. But for the Neshama to come down, for the soul to come down to the world, it has to get dressed in the Tzelem. Now the Tzelem, if you're looking right from the beginning when the Kadosh Baruch Hu created man, it says, B'Tzelem Elokim Nivra Adam. In the image of God, man was created. When God wanted to somehow form himself, to be able to be revealed to the prophets, then he dressed himself in a Tzelem, in a shape. That's why we're not allowed to have a Tzelem. This is the complete opposite. This is the ultimate kfirah, going against the Kadosh Baruch Hu, if I create a Tzelem. So the neshama has to get dressed in the Tzelem. Tzelem is just image, have a picture in your mind that a Tzelem is a shape. If you're looking at the Sfirot, it says in the Zohar, in Patach Eliyahu, how the Sfirot are in the shape of a man. There's a head, There's a body, there's hands, there's legs. In order for the neshama to manifest, to come down into this world, it has to get dressed into, like a tzelem, I like calling it like a puppet. That you put your hand in a puppet. Now the puppet is a dead piece of cloth. But you put the hand in it, you start moving the hand, and the puppet starts moving. So you move your finger, then the hand of the puppet goes, you move your thumb, so the other hand goes, and you start maneuvering the puppet. Same thing, the neshama gets dressed into this body. Now you can't move a body. A body is a piece of meat. It's bones and meat. So the neshama gets dressed into garments. Now we know of 3 major garments that are called thought, speech, and action. Machshava, dibur, v'maaseh. And the neshama gets dressed into these garments like a puppet. That's how it kind of interacts with the world. So these are the 3 actions how we interact in the world. Is our thought, our speech, and our action. Now when the father and mother are together and they're conceiving the child, they are designing the garments. They are deciding how the garments that the soul will get dressed in will be. So if the husband and wife are doing it in a holy manner, then the garments that the soul gets dressed in are holy garments. And if chas v'shalom it's done not in a holy manner, then the garments are not holy. So the child will have unholy garments, which means unholy thoughts, unholy speech, and unholy actions. That's why the whole ceremony is not to annoy the couple. If you're looking at the whole concept of family purity, it's genius. It's a genius system. Besides that, even medically, it's even proven. Everything that we see in the Torah now, medical and science, proves that it's actually good. And doctors prove that religious women, they keep family purity, never get cancer of the ovaries. Over the entire woman section, they don't get ever cancer there. Because this whole organ needs these 12 days to rejuvenate and to heal itself. So the whole concept of the family purity is beyond genius. Besides the fact you separate the whole excitement, everything. But we talked about it the last class how the preparation is so important. The preparation is the 2 weeks of the separation. There's many reasons for that. But if you're looking at it, even the preparation, the woman has to go to the mikveh. It's like a spa. She cleans her nails, she cleans this, she cuts that. She prepares herself mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically, everything. The right way is that the husband also has to prepare himself. He doesn't go and watch a football game that night. He goes and study Torah. And he sharpens his mind. He makes his mind holy. Now, I don't want to get too much into the whole process, but the preparation is extremely, extremely important. Now, of course, a lot of people ask me the most famous question, but that's after the fact. I'm already after the process. Now what? So first of all, it's important to know that the process and the way the child is conceived is the most important part of the. This is the foundation. It starts even more back how the husband and wife met, and if they touched each other before, if they were shomer negiah or not. Shomer negiah is not to make our life hard and to make us annoying. There's a reason for that. Okay, if you're looking at it based on halacha, it's like a fence over a fence over a fence. That chas v'shalom from one act, it's not going to lead into another act, and chas v'shalom fall into a sin. But spiritually, what happens is it's the same soul right now in 2 separate bodies. But up until this point, this woman is called arusa. She's a fiancé. If you're looking at the bracha under the chuppah, is matira asurot. She's asura to him. She's not permitted to him right now. Spiritually, what happens right now, chas v'shalom, if a man and woman are about to get married, they touch each other. Forget about an act, the physical act. Touch each other. There's a spiritual short circuit. Because right now, they're not ready to be together. It already causes a separation. That's the whole concept of not touching each other, not being together before the wedding is not to make their life hard or to be fanatic or strict. There's a spiritual reason for that. So it starts how the husband and wife meet. Then it starts how the child was conceived. But after that, for the first 12 years of the daughter's life and the 13 years of the boy's life, the children directly get everything that the parents do. They get it like Wi-Fi. They don't even have to be connected anymore. Whatever the husband thinks and how he operates, and whatever's going on in his mouth and thoughts and actions directly affect the child. The same way that the child, a baby, eats from the mother, physically it's attached to the mother and it's getting everything from the mother, then spiritually the child still gets from the mother and father till the age of bat and bar mitzvah. Which means if I keep my mind pure, and I'm thinking pure things all day long, I'm not talking about in a specific time, all the time, and my actions are pure and everything is according to the teachings of the Torah, by default my kids get affected from that right away, like a wireless Wi-Fi. I don't need to be even connected to the child. So I have 12 and 13 years for a boy and a girl of investing in how much I can actually give them. Now, a child, in the first 12 years for a girl and 13 years for a boy, a child is called Yeled. Yeled is a vessel, is a kli. If you're looking at the letters of a Yeled, it's Yud, Lamed, and Daled. If you dissect the letters, each letter has a meaning to that. Daled, Kabbalah teaches, comes from the word dalut. Dalut means something that doesn't have anything of itself. Dal. Like you have milk, it's dal shuman, doesn't have fat. So daled comes from the shorish of dalut, something that doesn't have anything of itself. Yud, in Kabbalah, it expresses chokhmah, the sphere of chokhmah, which is where the or, the light shines from. This is the sphere that affects all the rest of the sphirot, the highest sphira. And Lamed represents what's called a kesher, a knot. If you're looking at the Lamed, there's a kesher between one side to the other. So the concept is that the child is a vessel, but it's an empty vessel and doesn't have anything from itself. And you have the responsibility of pulling light, this godly light, from the sphere of Chokhmah and putting it into the child and making a kesher in it. So a child is a vessel. And when the child is born, it's an empty vessel. You are the one who are responsible to start filling the vessel. So that if the child is conceived in a very holy matter, then the vessel is a holy, pure, clean vessel. If chas v'shalom it's done the other way, then the vessel is damaged. That's how it's called. The vessel itself is damaged. Now, if the vessel is damaged, if I have now a cup and it has a crack, anything I'll put in it, anything I'll put in will go out of it. So my vessel always has to be constantly complete. So my child is a vessel. Now, if chas v'shalom, a husband and wife, they didn't start the right way, for whatever reason, we're not judging anyone, we're all human beings, and especially that Baruch Hashem in our generation, there's thousands and hundreds of thousands of Baalei Teshuva. Okay, you do mistakes in your life, everything can be repaired, everything can be reversed. So if chas v'shalom, it started the wrong way, then one can do teshuva and retroactive fix the damage. We spoke about it in the last shiur that a woman that is not observant or did not keep family purity, she can still go to the mikveh 20 years after she finished having her cycle, and it would retroactive affect all the years that she didn't go to the mikveh. And it will affect everything. That besides the fact that a woman that has her cycle and doesn't go to the mikveh, she carries on her impurity. This is called tumat nida, the impurity of nida, of blood. It's a very strong impurity. And if chas v'shalom a woman doesn't keep the laws of family purity, all these months she's carrying this impurity on her. Needless to say that when the child comes through her out, the whole area is impure, full of the blood that is impure, the child gets this impurity on it, right away.
Even if, like you said, sorry to interrupt you, like you said in previous occasions, you're not blamed for the sins, you're not punished for the mitzvot that you didn't know about.
It's nothing to do with punishment.
No, but even still the child bears
the impurity
from like parents who, let's say, were completely
ignorant. Unfortunately, it's not about being punished. I spoke about it a bit the last class, that take the concept of Hashem punishing you, take it out of the system. It's not the right way of looking. Hashem is not a mean God standing in the heavens and waiting to punish you. That's not how it works. Yes, there is the concept in the Torah that is called sachar ve'onesh, reward and a punishment. But a punishment, I would say it's a very harsh way of explaining the concept. I call it a reaction, not a punishment.
But it's a mum on the child.
Excuse me?
It's a mum on the child.
I wouldn't say a mum. It's just like take this beautiful big window now and throw an egg on it. Is the window broken? No, the window is perfect. Just take a shmata and wipe it off, and that's it, and it's off. It's dirt. This is what it is. Now, the difference here, if chas v'shalom, a person now will take a rock and throw it at this window, then he broke the window. So he did a certain action, a negative action. Now the reaction is that I have a broken window. So the owner of the house, she's going to tell me, I'm not upset at you. I know you're probably mentally ill, but I'm not upset at you. Just pay for the window. That's it. So Hashem tells us sometimes, I'm not upset at you, but you fix the damage. You take responsibility. You know, here in the army, they say, the fact that you didn't know doesn't exempt you from the punishment. The example that I always give is, imagine our little kid goes to the kitchen, opens the fridge, looks all the way up and sees like this beautiful pudding cake. He starts climbing on the shelves, pulls out the cake. The second he pulls out the cake, everything falls out of the fridge on the floor, smashes. The whole floor is a mess. The mom comes into the kitchen, assuming that she's a normal mom. She doesn't get upset. She doesn't scream. She doesn't yell. She doesn't lose her temper. She just tells the child, it's okay, nothing happened. That's a pretty rare mom. We're going to get to that. But she tells the child, listen, it's okay, an accident, but you clean it. You made the mess, you clean it. That's it. So if chas v'shalom, I did something wrong, it's not about Hashem punishing me. Yeah, one can say it's not fair. This world is not about fair. This world has there's always an action and a reaction. So yes, if chas v'shalom, the parents didn't conceive the child right, or the woman was not pure while the time of the birth and all that, yeah, unfortunately the child gets this impurity, and it has nothing to do with fair or not fair right now, or if Hashem is punishing, or the parents are punishing. It has nothing to do with it. You can take it now. We're going to go through now all sorts of acts that parents do that one might say it's also not fair for the child. If you take now a child, wherever you're going to put it, that's how it's going to grow. If you're we have the power of instilling these habits in children. We're going to get to that in a minute, because I mainly want to talk about the tachlis. What do we need to do? To hear all the fancy stuff, it's nice, but we need more practical tools. How do I bring myself to a point that I can actually educate the child the right way and still work on myself? Because it's two paths that I have to walk on. But the intro is just to understand where it all originates, because you want to psychoanalyze, you want to go back to understand where things are going on. More than that, you want to make sure that if you're still in the process, that the new ones, it's going to be done the right way. Or if chas v'shalom, it was not done the right way originally, then you have to do tshuva for that. Tshuva has the power to reverse everything. Tshuva has the power to retroactively change things. So I know many ladies that I met throughout my path. I have many women students that are in the 50s and the 60s, and they become religious, and they tell me, I never went to the mikveh, but I don't have my cycle anymore. You can still go to the mikveh. Not only they can, you have to go, because you're still carrying this impurity on you. More than that, once you go, you retroactively fix all those years that you didn't go. Yes, you want to ask something?
Yeah, I think they do have to be married though, right?
No.
They do
Even if she's not married.
I asked her Rebbitzin and she said they have to be married.
There's different opinions, but in regards to the purity, she doesn't have to be married
I know
anymore.
that affects all the generations.
For sure.
The children and the grandchildren.
I recommend to even women that are divorced or widowed to still go, because they're still carrying impurity on them. And if she does it the right way, not only just jumping into the pool, taking it really serious and doing tshuva, retroactively, she will affect the kids.
Isn't it more to do with tshuva though than just the action? Because anyone can just jump into a mikvah. If it's like, just, okay, I'm doing this.
It's
now,
everything.
It's okay, like,
It's the tshuva, it's the thoughts, it's the intention, it's the kavana, and it's the mikveh. It's everything together. The point is that tshuva can retroactively change a lot. So the woman has the power to mystically and spiritually go backwards and change what when she was not pure. The husband also has what he has to do. We're going to get to that also too. But you have another question?
Yeah, and if it's not tzniua, you don't have to answer. I'm just curious, if people are living a life where they go to the mikveh and they keep Torah mishpacha, are there specific halachot that I was never taught in Kabbalah classes that there has to be machshava at the time of conception? You have to be holy then?
100%. 100%. It's not about tznius or not tznius. In this class, we're not talking tznius, we're talking practically. The sad part is that most places, the way they prepare the bride and the groom, they're trying to be super extra tznius and they're not really telling them what they need to do. Unfortunately, from the other gender, they're not preparing the men right at all. They're not teaching them nothing. They don't teach them how to treat their wife. If the man did not have a good example from his father, he doesn't know anything what to do. He doesn't know anything about women because all his life he never saw a woman. He doesn't know anything. Unfortunately, in many places, many sects and many groups, they do not prepare both couples what to do. Mentally, emotionally, physically. And unfortunately, sometimes people trying to be so frum, they forget that there's basic things. And it's so important because in the act when the husband and wife are together, there's so much things to the preparation, the act itself, after the act, everything. Now the thing is like this, if you're looking at it in a very superficial way, then one might say, okay, no, whatever, I'll turn the light off and finish with it. No, it's a very holy act. This is a mitzvah. I mean, one can look at it in a very, physical way and say, okay, it's a physical act. Yeah, it's a mitzvah. Putting tefillin is also a physical act, but it's a mitzvah. And to put a talis on is a physical act, but it's a mitzvah. So this is the ultimate mitzvah. Because you have here not only the mitzvah of procreating, if you do it right, you have here the mitzvah of Avat Israel. They have many other mitzvahs here. The ultimate mitzvah, Avat Israel. So there's so much into it, and unfortunately many are not educated about it. But it's not just the husband and wife meeting each other after 2 weeks and that's it. No, is the preparation. The preparation is extremely important, spiritually. But then the actual act, of course it has to be holy and what you're thinking of and how it's done and all these little things. And the thing is that it affects, first of all, no doubt that it affects the couple's Shalom Bayit. If the act is not holy, there's not going to be Shechina between them ever. You're looking at the words Ish and Isha. Ish is a man, Isha is a woman. They both have the Aleph and the Shin in their name. The man has the Yud and the woman has the Hey. If they have between them the right relationship, then they're together. It's an Ish and Isha. If Chas v'Shalom, you take the Shechina away from them, you take the godliness out of them, which is the Yud and the Hey, then there's Esh, there's just fire. So this is the ultimate way when the husband and wife start and base their Shalom Bayit. If the act is not holy, most likely there's going to constantly be friction in Shalom Bayit. Constantly. And if it's done holy, there's very low chances that there'll be problems with Shalom Bayit. Bechlal, if the act is not holy, there's a greater chance for divorce because it's not going to be a good fit. Constantly there's going to be something going on between, spiritually, which will obviously manifest to physically. If the act is holy, when I'm saying holy, is everything. It's a big topic when I'm saying holy. But even the way that the couple respect each other, then first of all and most important, the Shalom Bayit, the peace between the husband and wife, is in a total different level. Total different level. That's why there's many rules and halachot in the actual act. So there's not going to be chas v'shalom, even an opening to chas v'shalom lose respect to each other or many other things. But besides affecting directly the Shalom Bayit is the connection of the husband and wife. And this is the basics for everything. Chinuch starts with the Shalom Bayit. If the husband and wife are not on the same page, the chinuch will fail. Will totally fail. First of all, the kids will just see the husband and wife fighting all the time, or arguing, or mocking each other, or laughing at each other, or not respecting each other. The child sees everything and registers in their subconscious, everything. So of course the Shalom Bayit is the base and the foundation of the Chinuch. If I have problems with my Shalom Bayit, first of all I have to go retroactively. How did I meet my wife? How did I behave while I was dating? How was the wedding? Was the wedding kosher? Believe it or not, 90% of the marriages in our generation are not real marriages. We spoke about it the last shiur. Go now to America, 90% of the marriages are not real marriages. Because in most cases, the witnesses are not kosher. So the kiddushin is not valid. And the reason that many of the weddings are like that in America, because most of the rabbinical authorities made a very quick calculation. If the couple is not frum, they're not keeping Torah and mitzvahs, or chas v'shalom, they're mocking the Torah and mitzvahs with many different ways, then if chas v'shalom they will get to a divorce, they're not going to care about a get. Why would they care about a get? Now, if they're married 100%, and then they get divorced without a get, and then they get remarried, and then there's going to be kids, these kids are mamzerim. So better them living, not married, which is a sin every time they're together, but if chas v'shalom, they'll get divorced, and they don't give a get to each other, then at least it's not going to be mamzerim, because you can't trace a mamzer. So 90%, I'm not exaggerating, 90% of the marriages in America are not real marriages. I have an album this thick of about 600 couples that I remarried, found out that they're not married at all. Couples come to me with problems of Shalom Bayit. The first thing that I ask them, are you married? Of course we're married. Are you really married? What are you talking about? We had a chuppah. Do you remember, do you have the ketubah? Let's see who are your witnesses. If one witness is not a kosher witness, that's it. It's not a wedding.
Our witness that married us in Jerusalem was not Jewish. We just found out last.
If you have to go.
We did, and it's like we're in Shana Rishonah.
First of all, it's not as simple, because sometimes one witness, listen, in Israel it's more strict.
But it still fell through.
Sometimes the rabbi that officiates it, he's one of the witnesses. There's a lot of laws in it.
We know, we went through all of it.
There's a lot of halachot in it.
Do just the Teshuva, we don't have to.
Video. But the thing is that I retroactively, with hundreds of couples, which is very simple, look at the ketubah, look at the video, ask around, and most of them, the first thing, the witnesses, either the relatives, which makes them not valid to be a witness, or they don't keep Shabbat, which makes them not valid to be a witness. Now in our generation, many poskim, they come and say all sorts of, there's a long list of things that will make a witness not valid. If a person is a thief, he cannot be a witness. So the point is not to get into too much into that, but unfortunately, most of the couples in the world are not really married. If they were married in a very religious ceremony, most likely they are. But take any secular couple, not outside of Israel, because in Israel they're very strict. In Israel, the Rabbanut will not allow things like this to happen. Now, in our generation, unfortunately, in the last 10, 15 years, people go to get married in Cyprus, they go to Greece, they go to Vegas, and all sorts of other shticks. But most of the couples in Israel don't have this problem, because the Rabbanut in Israel, they're not going to let you get married any other way. But in America, and I'm saying America because that's where I spent the last 20 years, but same thing in Europe and Australia and anywhere. If the witnesses are not valid, then the wedding is not a real wedding. And that in itself already is a crack between the husband and wife. Then people are surprised why there's so much divorce, because they're not really married. Because when the husband and wife meet each other after 20, 30 years, then when they go into the chuppah, if the chuppah is kosher, the Kadosh Baruch Hu sews the neshama together. That's it. And if the chuppah is not kosher, then the Kadosh Baruch Hu is not there. So he's not going to sew the neshamas together. And then you have a result of a husband and wife that they're not really married. Every time they're together, they're committing one of the worst sins in the Torah. Needless to say, the impurity it brings on the child. Thou look at our generation and you'll understand where all this mishugas come from, because it's a snowball. So the first thing one needs to do is first of all trace back the dating period, then the wedding, then the first year, then the act itself. The thing is that every step of the way will directly affect the child. Now, a lot of people don't want to hear it or believe it or to agree with it. But the reality is that till bar and bat mitzvah, whatever the father thinks, affects directly the child. Directly.
Why is the father not the mother?
Because the father is what's called chokhmah, and the sperm comes from the brain. Now, medical doctors will prove and show you that the sperm actually comes from the klayot, from the kidneys, but the kidneys cook it, then it goes to the brain, then it goes through the spine. While the husband and the wife are together, the husband is cooking the sperm in his brain. When it's ready, it will go down through the spine and out to the woman. Now, if he's, during the act, thinking holy things, then he's already purifying and dressing this sperm in a holy energy. If chas v'shalom it's afuch, it's the other way around, that's how it's going to come. Now the mother comes from the sphere of Bina, so she nourishes the midot, the attributes of the child. Father comes from Chokhmah, so he designs the mochin, the intellect. Now till the age of bar and bat mitzvah, for the first few minutes the child is connected to the mother with the umbilical cord. Doctors right away cut it. It's not the right way. It has to be connected at least another 10, 20 minutes. I mean, too much is not good because there's too much pressure with the blood. And chas v'shalom can be all sorts of complications. But doctors cut it right away. The right way is to keep it a little bit. So this is the physical umbilical cord. The spiritual umbilical cord is stay till bar and bat mitzvah. So the father comes from the sphere of Chokhmah, he's the mochin, he's the intellect. Then constantly what's going on in his mind will directly affect the child. The mom is more emotional. She comes from the sphere of Bina. She's constantly empowering the midot of the child. So the father has to, why do we get the obligation of learning Torah? Besides the mitzvah, besides what we need to know what to do. But if my mind is stimulated by Torah all day long, then by default, my mind will be holy. I'm not going to think of unholy things. Because my mind is going to be trying to figure out the sugya that I learned 2 hours ago and I can't figure it out. But my mind, the wheels in my brain are thinking about Torah. And my mind is constantly occupied with Torah. My mochin, my intellect is holy. So I wirelessly transmit it to my kids. Their machshava is holy. The woman is more emotional. The woman has to work on her midot. She has to refine her midot. That's why Hashem says, I'm going to now take most of the burden off you. You don't have to do mitzvot. Concentrate on a few things. Concentrate on refining your midot. When you refine your midot, your attributes, whether it's good or bad, but you have to refine the negative ones, anger, jealousy, animosity, patience, all these emotions that you have, they're coming from somewhere. And when they're not under control, they right away affect the child. So the father and the mother have a lot of work to do in the behind the scenes, and it directly affects the child. So how the mother and father conduct their spiritual behavior directly, with no interference, will affect the children. Now this is more in a spiritual level. Needless to say that if the house is holy, which starts with what you feed the kids, has to be kosher. Kids' neshamas are very sensitive. A lot of people come and say, yeah, but according to halacha, till the age of 6, till the age of 3, till the age of 9, there's all sorts of approaches. It's not true. Yeah, halacha will give you a lot of loopholes. But why do you want to go according to the minimum of the minimum of the minimum you want to do? The soul of a child is such a pure soul, it doesn't have sins, doesn't have anything negative. Why should I feed my 2-year-old unkosher food? Why should I contaminate that neshama with something not holy? They're much more sensitive than me. I told you the last shiur about with my 3-year-old that they gave him the chalav, milk that was not chalav Israel in one of the kindergartens. I'll repeat the story real quick because a lot of you were not here. But when we lived in Los Angeles last year, it was just a station. So we had to put the kids quickly in school. So we put my 3-year-old in a kindergarten. And since we weren't in the right place, and we didn't have the time to find the right place, so we put it in a frum kindergarten. It was fine for the couple months that we were there. And this little kid, you're looking at him, it looks like an angel. This face, you just look at the face, like this gentle kid. He starts coming back from this kindergarten after like a week or two, and he became very aggressive. So we're like, okay, new kindergarten, new kids, he's 3 years old, we were coming with all the excuses. A week later, he became even more aggressive. A week later, he started becoming more violent and answering, and his movements were violent, throwing things. So after us trying to blame it on the environment or because we moved, he's 3 years old, we changed kindergartens. At one point, my wife goes to the kindergarten and she tells the teacher, is there anything going on here? He's behaving different. No, he's a good kid. Everything's the same. So after a very short investigation, my wife found out, she was like, what are you feeding him anything? Are you giving him anything to eat? No, only when they're good, we give him them candies. So my wife was like, can I see the candy? Sure, here, it's kosher, don't worry, it's very kosher. So she looked and it was kosher, but not Chalav Israel. And we're very, very particular with Chalav Israel for many different reasons. Maybe because according to the teachings of the Arizal, Chalav Akum directly affects the brain, directly. This is what's called Timtum HaSechel. Timtum doesn't come from the word metumtam. Excuse my language, stupid. Timtum means unbalanced. Something that's constantly not balanced. And Chalav Akum is known to directly affect the mochin, the sechel. It makes the person very unbalanced. So right away, my wife was like, okay, listen, we were very, very strict. Please don't give the child any more of this candy. I'm not exaggerating, within a couple of days, back to normal. So you see how even a little kid, a 3-year-old, how it affects the neshama is so sensitive. Why should I now feed the child something that is not holy? When we used to live in a building a couple of years ago, we had a neighbor that every Shabbat would come to our home and she would tell me, can you tell your 2-year-old to turn the light on? Can you tell your 2-year-old to do this? I told her, why? No, the light turned off, the heater turned on. I told her, but why shouldn't my 2-year-old do Chilul Shabbat? No, she's a child. I said, of course, so what if she's a child? There's a neshama in a child. She's still doing a Chilul Shabbat. You're not even allowed to ask a guy to do that. You want to ask a little, so what if she's a 2-year-old? The point is that our children are so holy that because they're so holy, they're sensitive 100 times more than us. What you feed them directly will affect their neshama. What you make them watch will directly affect them. What you're going to make them listen to will directly affect them. What they see, they register like a sophisticated scanner, and it goes into their subconscious. Unfortunately, in our generation, parents don't have much tolerance. It's a burden for them, the kids. So the kid they put in front of a box, and they tell the kid, here, look at this box, and leave me alone. And the kid is hypnotized by the screen, and forget about the junk, what they see on the screen. Even if it's real super duper extra super kosher, it's still not what the child needs to register. Chas v'shalom, when it's the complete opposite. If you're looking at what's going on in that box, it's just violence and curses, and I don't want to even say other things that's going on. The child sees it, and it becomes normal to the child that it's normal to hit and to kill, and the child gets affected directly what they see. The thing is that if you're looking at the olden days, they didn't have TVs, they didn't have smartphones to look at games and nonsense all that. They occupied their mind. They built things, they went out to play, they were climbing on trees, they weren't hypnotized by a screen. So unfortunately, a lot of people in our generation, they don't have the patience, they don't have the koach, they don't want to. It's a burden. People tell me, the kids, it's a burden. The kid is not a burden. The kid is it's a human being that needs affection and love. The thing is that to take from this is that whatever the child sees, it registers. If the child will grow up in a home that he sees respect between the husband and wife, the child will mimic it for the rest of his life. The problem in Chinuch is that the parents say one thing and they do another thing. And this is where it starts. This is the main problem in Chinuch. The problem in Chinuch is that the child comes out of the womb total innocent. He believes anything. The level of emunah, of belief of the baby is perfect. Because the belief, the emunah in our system is built in. You don't have to build emunah. It's custom fit, it's in the neshama. The problem is that the first year, the child is totally not connected to anything. He believes anything. You give the child now something to eat, it's not going to ask you if it's kosher, it's not kosher. Mommy gave it to me, so it's good. That's it. The babies, they don't run a survey in the hospital. How's your mommy? Is your mommy good? Should I go home with this mom? The child is the 100% emunah. Whatever it sees, it believes. But then, after about 1.5 to 2 years, the child is facing a very harsh reality. And people start lying to that child. So from the age of 2 to the age of 5, they're starting to get a lot of lies. And the first ones who lie to the child is the parent. Because parents say, if you're not going to clean your room, I'm not going to give you this and that. And then they don't clean their room, and they still got it. So mommy's a liar. Now you do that a few more times, that's it. In their subconscious, you are a liar. I can't believe you. And most parents use the lying system, which is the worst system in educating. You're teaching your child that it's fine to lie. Because the child sees how many times there's a certain situation in the house, and somebody knocks on the door, the husband and wife, they're whispering, don't open, here's the whole team. The child sees that and is like, okay, what's going on here? Why can't we open the door right now? Or why can't we do this? Why are you saying that? Why are you whispering this? The child is he's innocent. He doesn't know what's going on. He just sees mommy and daddy, doing something, and he sees, and that's what he registers. The first problem is that we lie to our children constantly. And if you lie to your child, first of all, you're slowly diminishing and burying the power of emunah in that child. And then they don't understand when the child is 14 and 16, they're completely off the derech. They don't believe. I don't believe in anything. Why don't you believe? Because you lied to me your whole life. So why should I believe you? Why should I believe you that there's a God even? You're pretending that you're religious, but you're lying to me all day long? So the child says, the child is not an investigator. The child doesn't go up to his room and says, okay, mommy said this and daddy said that. No, it just registers in the subconscious, and they know and they see how you operate, so they're like, okay, that's the reality. So from the age to about 2 to 5, when you constantly lie to a child, you see so many parents that they're telling all sorts of stories to the children and lying. The worst is the direct lying. And the parent does not understand that, first of all, you teach the child to lie, that it's normal to lie. You put in the child the option even that there's something opposite than the truth. The long run effect is that the child will lie. More than that, slowly the level of belief is diminished. Trust. So he's not going to believe other people. He's not going to believe anything. Now, unfortunately, in this world, some people, you really don't need to believe them. But the system gets defected. So the child grows with this constant doubt all the time. So the system of lying is the first thing that has to go out of the window. You have to be 100% honest with your child. Because if you're not honest with your child, you have to understand children are smarter than they look. They're adults in small bodies. They might have some habits, but if you take now any man, and take him out of his environment, he's a child. Give him a nice car, he'll get all excited. Give him a ball, he starts throwing it to the wall. I mean, it's the same thing. So it's just in a more mature body, so I can crawl on the floor now. But give any adult male a cool toy, he's on the floor right away with it. So the reality is that the kids are adults. They're just covered in a very small body, so they look like a little bit shorter. That's it. But they're so much more smarter than you think, that when every act that you do, every word that comes out of the mouth, there's an analysis going on. Now it's not done directly. The child doesn't keep notes, but it's worse, it's going in the subconscious. So if the child sees mommy lying all day long, then the child will lie all day long. So it's not only lying to the child, it's lying to everybody around. And you see sometimes many situations that, we'll take an example, a guest comes to the home, the mother and father, they treat the girls a certain way, then the guest leaves the home. Did you see that? Did you see what she said? You know that she did like that? He did that? And all these lashon hara, and the child is like, what's going on here? 2 hours ago, there was all smiling and hugging and best friends. Now my parents are bad-mouthing them. What's going on here? So the child is not going to blame the person that walked in. He will right away, 1 + 1, mommy and daddy are liars. So the lying is the foundation of the problem. Bechlal, for your own sake, you don't want to lie. Because people don't accept the idea that lying is one of the worst sins ever. Hashem doesn't like liars. Now you can lie to anyone around you, but there's two that you cannot lie to. You cannot lie to the Kadosh Baruch Hu. But mainly, you cannot lie to yourself. I mean, you can make up stories, but you cannot lie to yourself. This is the only one that you really know the real truth. If you lie to yourself, then you would lie to anybody. If you project this energy of lying, the world will lie back at you. So everything will come distorted to you. Any type of reality. Doesn't matter what it's relationships, it's your relationship with the Kadosh Baruch Hu, relationships with people, business, anything will come distorted back at you because the world is a mirror. And every act that you do, you're projecting something to the universe. You do a good act, a positive act, you're projecting this energy into the universe. You're doing a negative act, and you're projecting it into the universe. And the universe is a bunch of mirrors. All around you is mirrors. So you're throwing a light to the universe, it will come back at you in some way. And then people complain that things don't work out, and everybody's cheating them, and this guy cheated me, and this business deal didn't work out, and here they're taking my money. But you look, go back, you designed it. So since we're trying to stick to the topic of Chinuch, don't lie to your kids ever again. First of all, don't lie at all. But when you lie to your kids, even in little things, I mean, you can round corners because sometimes the kids don't need to know everything. Your kid doesn't need to know how much money you have in your bank account. It's none of their business. Your kid doesn't need to know what's going on in the bedroom. It's none of their business. There's certain things that the kids do not need to know what's going on. When I'm talking about the bedroom, I'm not necessarily talking about when the husband and wife are together. I'm talking about tznius. Kids do not need to see their parents not dressed. That's when they learn the attribute of tzniut. Because if the husband walks around half naked in the home, the kid will never be tznius. If the mother is not tznius in the home, forget about outside. Outside is a totally different thing. If the mother is not modest in the home, how she talks, how she behaves, how she walks, how she sits, how she sleeps, everything in the home, the child would look at it and be like, what are you pretending? You're pretending outside the home to be so modest, and inside the home you're not? Now again, the child will not make an analysis in their mind, but they're registering information. So if the mother is not tznius in the home, then the child will register that. Wait a minute, who's mommy frauding here? In the home, she's like this. Outside of the home, she's like that. What's going on here? So every little act that you do, you are the role model. You want the child to be something, you have to be it. Now here we're talking just to the feminine side, but you have to tell your husbands that you can't expect the child to be a Talmud and to go and do his homework and learn Torah and want to go and pray if the husband doesn't do it. You cannot come as a father and tell the child, come with me to shul if you don't go to the shul. You cannot complain to the child if you don't do that. I always say the same example, the same story, that on my second son's Shalom Zachar, for the ones of you who maybe don't know what's a Shalom Zachar, Friday night before the bris, there's a big meal and you invite a lot of people, and there's a very special event which mystically and spiritually is very, very, very powerful. But on the Shalom Zachar of my second son, we had a very big party, and we had a lot of guests that night, and suddenly, like a surprise, a very big rabbi from the community came, which for us was like this big honor. And everybody was toasting L'chaim, and you should have a lot of nachar from him, and he should be a Talmid Chacham, and he should be this, and he should be that, and everybody was giving us beautiful brachot. And then the rabbi stood up and he says, listen, I'm not going to give you a bracha. I'm going to give you advice. You want your son to be a Talmid? You be a Talmid. You want your son to daven? You go and daven. You want your child to be something? You be that thing, and he will follow. Do not complain to the son that he doesn't go to shul if you don't bother to take yourself to a shul and daven in a minyan. And don't demand your child to be a student when he doesn't see you going to the class every night or studying at home. So if you want your child to be something, you be it. Don't expect the child. Now you have to understand that the mind of a child, as much as they're adults, the mind is not developed. Spiritually, they get the level of da'at only when they reach the age of 20. Till 20, they don't have the level of da'at. Now, I don't know really how to translate that. I don't know if to say comprehension or I don't know the right way of that. But the child will get the level of chokhmah since they were born. Then they will get later on when they're 12 and 13 the level of bina. But that they only get when they're 20. Their mind is not developed 100%. So you have to understand that the child in the front part of the brain, the conscious sees one thing, the back side of the brain, the subconscious, sees a completely different thing. When the child sees a certain pattern of behavior, besides of mimicking that behavior, he doesn't know how to really analyze what's the message here. So when the child sees a mother walking into the room screaming, "Pick up your clothes! Your room is a mess! Why are you doing that?" Ah! And screaming, the child doesn't see the logic behind the screaming. He sees mommy behaving very weird. He doesn't see the message right now. If you walk into the room and tell your child in a very calm way, "Please fix the room, and please put your toys in their spot because they're expensive, and please make sure that your clothes are not on the floor because it costs me a lot of money to wash them all day long, and I'm not your slave," and so forth, and you explain to the child, at least he's getting a message. Here, when you're waving your hands, the message that the child gets is mommy, something's wrong with mommy, that she's screaming. I don't know why she's screaming. And the first reaction that will cause this screaming to a child right away moves back. I don't want to be hurt now by this crazy screaming woman. So the child right away moves back. And the result from this moving back will be, child locks himself. Doesn't want to react to the parent. So children lose their connection with the child, with the parent. The worst thing that can happen in parenthood and chinuch, that there's no connection to the child. Because the child seeks for everything in the parents. You are literally the mishenet. How do you say mishenet? How do you say this is a mishenet? How do you call it? Support. It's not really support, it has a different name.
Backbone?
Backbone is a different thing. Doesn't matter, you know what I mean. The parents are the mishenet of the child. The child has to lean on the parent. Now, if the child doesn't want to lean on the parent, he would go and look to who to lean on. Because he needs it. Because they don't have a backbone. That's another thing that one needs to do. But at this point, the parent has to develop a deep relationship with the child, that the child can tell them anything, that the child trusts the parent, that the child will go to the parent in any circumstance. That's why, unfortunately, in the latest generations, you see so much child molestation. Because the first time it happens, the child doesn't know how to react. A healthy child will run to the parent right away. Right away. A healthy child. A child that has some type of a doubt that maybe mommy will scream at me, it doesn't go to the parent. And then it will happen again and again and again and again, and the child closes more and closes more and closes more, to a point that it locks itself. And now get it out can take years. So a healthy relationship, the child will right away run to the parent and say, "That person touched me. He did something inappropriate." Forget about that, you have to educate the child about that. That's the whole different thing here. But a healthy relationship, the child will come to tell the parent everything, because he's not going to be afraid that mommy is going to scream. And he's not going to be afraid that dad is going to put me in the corner or take my toy away or freak out. Because daddy and mommy are my best friends. And if I don't behave nice, yeah, they will punish me. The concept of punishing in educating is a very, very important part. The child has to be punished. It doesn't have to be beaten to death. Punishment has to come in a very smart way. But the fact is that if you don't have a good relationship with your child will never come back to you. He will not seek any comfort in the parent. So the building a relationship with a child is the most important thing. You have to shower the child with love. Kids only want love. They don't want a lollipop. Lollipop is nothing. And they don't want all sorts of toys. In our generation, you replace love with plastics. Here, take this toy. Here, take this box. Play with it. Child doesn't want that. A child wants love, and it wants affection. You spend 10 minutes of unconditional love a day with your child, that's it. It's 100 lollipops. The problem is that most people, maybe they love their children a lot, but they're not showing this affection. Children need affection, they need hugs, they need kisses, they need supporting words. You can punishment, you can scream, not scream like a maniac. Raise your voice a little bit. Yeah, children need all these things. A child needs a very strict environment. But there's a way to do it that you're not being translated and looked at as a nutcase. Because that's how children look at you. If you walk into the house screaming, I gave the example with the fridge and you said normal, mom, it's not normal. Because the kid, what did I do? I didn't do anything, I just wanted the cake. Why are you screaming at me? The child doesn't understand where you're coming from. You have to understand that if you had a bad day and you are under a lot of stress or whatever you're going through and you're screaming, the child doesn't know what's going on in your body. The child doesn't understand where you're coming from. So yes, the popular answer that I get, yeah, but I have my cycle now. The hormones are driving me crazy. Okay, I understand. But your child doesn't understand that you have hormones now. So even if you already lost it and you screamed at your child, go and apologize. 5 minutes later when you cool down, go to the child and says, I'm sorry. Parents don't apologize to kids. And it's a very bad thing because parents, you have to keep yourself in a level that the child needs to know that he has to respect you. But when you're doing something wrong, you need to say sorry to your child because you're building this relationship. The child says, okay, when mommy's wrong, she knows how to apologize. And mommy's also human and she sometimes screams. I'll forgive her. More than that, you're already teaching the child that when you do something wrong, you come and apologize. The child will now go, when they do something wrong, will understand, I will do wrong things in my life. But at least let me be a mensch and acknowledge it and apologize. So anything that you do, you're giving it to your child. So when you walk into the home after your day of work or whatever you do, you have to take a 5-minute break and think, what am I bringing into the home right now? I'm angry because everybody annoyed me. I'm hot. I'm whatever. Okay, sit down, relax for 2 minutes, drink something cold, then come into the interaction. You pick up your child from the kindergarten, from school, take 5 minutes to say, okay, there's another human being now, a fragile human being that will now be in my way. If I have a lot of issues right now, then I have to get rid of these issues for 5 minutes, to put them aside. I can't throw them on my child right now. Now, I said before that our children actually came to refine us. The reality is that we are dealing with all sorts of issues. Doesn't matter right now if we're carrying them for 40 years from our childhood. Doesn't matter why are we dealing with issues. But our children came to refine us. And if I'm looking at my child as my mirror that actually comes to refine me, that by default will make me appreciate and respect my child much more. Besides the fact that each and every one of us has a lot of faults. We're human beings. We were born with these faults. We came here to fix these faults. Now, if I'm not going to be aware of these faults and have the acknowledgement that I have to fix them, if I have an issue with patience, it's not my children's problem. It's my problem. And if I'm not going to work on it, then I'm losing out here. Because I came to this world not to live here for 60 years, or 70 years, or 80 years. I came here to fix my midot. That's why I came here. My attributes. Kadosh Baruch Hu was kind enough to give us a guide. He gave us Torah and He gave us mitzvahs. Torah and mitzvahs are air and food to our neshama. The same way that you eat and you breathe every day, and you cannot deprive yourself from breathing. No person will say, okay, today we don't really need to breathe all day long. Let's take 5-minute breaks. You don't do that. And you don't segregate yourself from food. So Torah and mitzvahs are the food and the air for your neshama. But we came down to this world for 60, 70, 80 years to refine my midot. This is a concept that is called tikkun midot. And each person will have a few midot that they have to work on. And the thing is that our children will come to point them out. And if I have an issue with my anger, it's not because my child is making a mess on the floor. And if I have an issue with patience, it's not because my child dropped something or spilled something on the floor. It's my issue. It's not my child issue. And I should not take my issues and project it on the child. A, it's not fair, first of all. B, the result, the devastation, the result is going to be devastating. For the long run. Maybe for the short run, no, but for the long run. So everything that the child sees, they register and they copy. You know, sometimes I have on my phone, I keep it as proof. Because my little kids, they have the toys, is a talis and tefillin, and they put it on like a fake tefillin, of course, and they pretend they're like praying. Why? They see the father doing a certain thing, they want to do the same thing. I mean, no, the thing is that the child will copy the parent. So we can't come and demand things from our children if I'm not doing it myself. So if I'm not doing anything myself, don't even dare to demand the child to do that. If I want my child to be honest, you can't, make a show around the child. You have to be 100% honest. And if for whatever reason the situation has to be in a way that you have to manipulate the truth for 1 second, then at least try to make sure that you're not doing it next to the child, or at least explain to the child why you have to behave like that. The point is that you design the child till the age of bar and bat mitzvah. You are 100% responsible. Once they hit bar and bar mitzvah, most of the job is already done. At this point, you just have to support the system. Now the point is, you said exactly the concept. You have to build the backbone, the spine of the child. Because for the first few years, they don't have a spine. Physically, they do. Spiritually, emotionally, and mentally, they don't have a spine. You have to build it. It has to be built strong. So the entire structure of the home has to be strong and healthy. And if the parents have Shalom Bayit issues, they have to make sure that they're fighting in the room and the door is closed when the kids are asleep. I'm not joking, because parents fight next to the kids. The second that the kid will see the father humiliating the mom, or calling her names, or saying or mocking her, or making fun of her, first of all, if the child has a little bit more favor to the mom, that's it, the father is gamur. The child will never respect him. And in most cases, children, especially when they're a lot next to the mom, they tend to love the mom more. Because the father's at work all day long, and some fathers, they're tough, their derech in Chinuch is being strict, because by default the husband is more gvura, they scream, they're more firm, the woman is more like loving and kissing and muchinyo, kuchinyo. So in the early stages, the child has more developed love for the mom, especially if the mom breastfeeds. If the mom breastfeeds, the connection between the child and the mom is very, very powerful. So if chas v'shalom, the father will humiliate the mom or will say something not nice, the child that loves the mom extra, that's it. The father now is, okay, I don't like daddy today. And the damage that is done is this separation. The result will be that there's no good communication and a good relationship between the parent and the children. So the foundations that one needs to focus on in Chinuch is, first of all, you want to go back to how it all started. And if there's something wrong along the way, you have to do Teshuva for that. You have to change it. Then if you're still in the years that it's in the bar and bat mitzvah, then it's your entire spiritual work that will affect the kids directly. And you have to take that into consideration. You have to say, okay, the more I work on myself, it will manifest and affect the child. So if I don't want to do it for myself, do it for the child. Then what I bring into the home. It starts with what I feed my kids. Feed through the mouth, feed through the eyes, feed through the ears. It's not only the kosher food. It's the kosher things that they watch on the TV. Better even to minimize that. Kids don't need to look at a screen. Once a week, let them watch a movie or something. But it's not a healthy thing to bring up the kids on the screens. I explained that the whole screen is a disease. There's a clipper in the screen. Now, the whole lecture that I'm teaching about the whole concept of this screen, I call it the war of screens. The Zohar is talking about that there's going to be, before Mashiach comes, going to be a war, Gog and Magog. There are 3 wars. The Zohar is talking about 3 wars. 2 of them we already had. First World War and Second World War. But the Third World War, we're already having it. We're already in the middle of Gog and Magog. And Gog and Magog doesn't need to be nuclear bombs. Chas v'shalom, it will manifest from the spiritual to the physical, then we'll have nuclear bombs. But the war we already started a long time ago. The Zohar, when it's talking about Gog and Magog, it's calling it Milchemet Gigim. Milchemet Gigim is a war of thoughts. Now what is the war of thoughts? It's the screens. Everybody's hypnotized by the screens all day long. You like it's like a life support system. You know, it beeps, you jump. Now the kids, they get affected from that. And there's a klipa, there's a certain impurity in the screens. That's why the gdolim of the generation, they say don't have these things. Take the TV out of the house, take these smartphones, everything. Not because of the show that's on it. There's a certain impurity in the screen. It's a klipa, it's a very powerful klipa that you're getting hypnotized to that. If you're looking at people, they're hypnotized to the screen all day long. All day long. If you will psychoanalyze your day, you'll see how many hours you're glued to a screen, and 90% of it is nonsense. To check your email here and there, fine. Here and there to check your messages, good. You use it as a whatever GPS here and there, shopping, fine. This is normal. But if you're really true to yourself, look how many hours you're wasting on the screen. Now you somehow already know how to handle it because you didn't grow up with that. But the child, that constantly they get this draw to the screen, there's a very powerful klipa in it. Klipa is a spiritual, a negative spiritual power. Hold on, I'm going to be done in a second, then we're going to take questions. So what you're bringing into the home is extremely, extremely important. What they see, even what they hear. We made an experiment not too long ago in a high school of teenage girls, that it's to some extent a religious high school, but the girls not coming from religious homes. So in the school, they're modest, and they eat kosher food, and they learn half-day Torah. When they go home, the dress goes off, and they're with pants, and they change completely. I mean, they don't come to school with makeup. They go out of school right away. The makeup goes on. So I'm not chas v'shalom saying anything in a negative way. I'm not judging. I'm just saying this is the type of group we did the experiment on. And it started that I told them that the secular music that they're listening to directly affects them. And they were contradicting me. Ma pitom, there's nothing wrong with the music. And I told them, let's make an experiment. Let's cut the music for 1 month. And let's see what will be the result from 1 month of not listening to secular music. And the result was, for the ones who actually participated, much more focused in their studying, much less negative desires for all sorts of negative habits, and so many different things. The level of chutzpah was reduced. Everything, the way they were talking, every little thing was directly affected. So it might sound far-fetched, but what you listen to also make a difference. You want to make sure that the music in the home is coming from a holy source. You want to make sure that the stories you read your kids are holy stories from the Bible, from Tanakh, that the books that they read. You want to make sure that the house is holy. Last class we were talking about bringing the Shekhinah, the holiness, into the home. This is what radiates and affects the child. So every little thing in the house you want to make sure that is holy. You want to make sure that you have guests in the home. Guests bring the Shekhinah into the home. And you don't talk Lashon Hara about the guests when they leave the home. You want to make sure that your Shabbat table is holy, that there's Torah in the house. You want to make sure all these little things the child sees and they register. And the bottom line is that you are the role model of the child. Do not expect from the child to behave a certain way if you're not behaving that way. And if you have all sorts of issues that you need to deal with, and I'm not saying it in a negative way to chas v'shalom mock anyone by saying issues. I'm saying maybe it sounds not nice, maybe it's how I'm expressing myself. But if we all have to deal with things. That's how we came to this world. Each person has to deal with certain things, which is normal. That's our avodah. But you can't project it and throw it on the child. And lehefech, the child will come to emphasize what you really have to work on. So you have to meditate 5 minutes before you interact with the child, and you have to give your utmost attention and love to the child. The children need to be surrounded with love. And if you nourish the child with love and affection and attention, and when the child comes to you with a question, you don't blow up at the child. Leave me alone now. Don't you see that I'm working? That's not a reaction. The reaction is to say, okay, what's more important right now? Me finishing what I need to do, or taking a deep breath and turning to the child, yes, how can I help you? Now essentially who it helps? Only yourself. Because if you have a problem with patience, a lot of people say, yeah, my children annoy me. No, they don't annoy you. You have to work on your patience. You have to know how to control it. You have to take courses in Tikkun HaMidot. I have a lot of videos online. Go and listen to them. How you refine your midot. That's why our sages told us, pray first thing in the morning. How you start your day, that's how you will project the entire day. The first thing we do, we wash our hands. There's impurity on our hands. Very strong impurity on our hands. The minhag of many people is you put the water next to your bed. According to halacha, you're not even allowed to walk 4 steps before you wash your hands. You want to wash your hands first thing in the morning. It might seem like a very basic thing. Okay, big deal, so I'll wash it in 10 minutes when I go down. You wash it right when you wake up in the morning, because the power of impurity that's on your hand is powerful. You start touching your eyes, your ears, your face, you go and touch food, you touch the kids. There's impurity in it. Very powerful impurity, the impurity of sleeping. The first thing that you do, you say your morning prayers. Don't wait till 10, 11 o'clock in the morning when everybody leaves. Take these 3 minutes to say your morning prayer. Because in the morning prayers, the Chachamim, how they put it in, you're saying a few psukim from the Torah. You're saying the first brachot of the day. You're bringing some holiness into your system. If you can wake up an hour earlier, then pray before your kids wake up. You're a total different person. My wife goes to sleep earlier so she can wake up earlier before the kids get up, so she can pray that when they wake up, she's already, after I did my morning prayers, after I did whatever I need to do, my mind now is clear, it's pure, I'm ready to deal now with these beautiful neshamot that Hashem gave them to me. And you design your day around them. They come home at 12, they come home at 1, the house has to be ready for them. You do what you need to do during the day. You do what you need to do at the end of the day. Needless to say that the entire energy in the house has to be pure and clean. And if this is not 100%, then this has to be high priority. How do I bring this energy into my home? How do I make sure that my husband, he has to go and pray in a minyan? There's a big difference why he prays in a minyan. He has to learn Torah. He has to do what he needs to do. You have issues with Shalom Bayit, it has to be worked on for the sake of the kids. You are a screen that the child sees all day long. If you accept Shabbat 2 minutes after the time, forget about the energy in the home right now. Then your child will learn that it's fine and it's okay to do the mitzvah the last minute. That's it. Don't expect later the child to be super duper frum. Because our generation is a lot of temptation. But if you accept Shabbat 10 minutes before and you're relaxed and happy and smiling, and the child will say, oh, mitzvahs we do way before the time. And I see how mommy's relaxed and clean and mesudar. So all these little things, the child looks and they register. So ultimately when you're thinking of it, it's a circle. You want to give good chinuch education to the kid, but it goes back to you that you're actually refining yourself. You're elevating yourself. You're making yourself more closer to the Kadosh Baruch Hu, because you want to give a good example to the child. So what you need to take from this little and general class about chinuch, that you are a screen that your child is looking at all day long. Now you have to do your own avodah. You have to refine yourself. You have to grow spiritually. You have to work on yourself. You have to work on your Shalom Bayit, on your relationship with your husband. You have business. You have friends. This is your avodah. Your child is the one who's going to keep you the right way. So you have to respect the child. Ultimately, you are the source of everything to the child, and you have to internalize it. And even if you need to take 5 minutes throughout your day, if you need to write it down, and every day read it, then make yourself notes. What am I to my child? I'm their hero. I'm their role model. I'm their backbone. I'm their mishenet to lean on. I'm their supporter. Read it for yourself. Chant it before they come home. That you're saying, okay, this little child, this innocent neshama is walking home now. All it wants to say is to tell you how they glued something in the kindergarten, or something that happened to them, or chas v'shalom, something bad happened. They want to come to share it. If a child keeps stuff inside, it will get buried and buried and buried, and when they're 16, at some point it will explode because it was never released. 99% of the problems of adults in our generation, whether it's depression, anxiety, fears, uncertainty, lack of emunah, all these things, you know where they come from? From baggage they're carrying from when they were 7 years old. Because nobody gave them a hug at the right moment. So they're carrying knots in their neshama for 40 years. Now at this point, they don't even know how to let go of the knot. They don't know how to let it go. Because when they were 8 years old, something happened and it wasn't treated right away. The blemish was not covered right away. So you have to make sure that the child is open and free to come and tell you whatever it needs to spit out. If they don't spit it out, it stays inside. And a child is a spring. The more you kvetch it, at some point when it's time to release, it will release very, very strong. So parents are always surprised when the child is suddenly 12. Oh, he has ADD. He has this. He has learning disorders. He has now problems. He's just carrying all sorts of junk that you gave him for 12, 13 years. So the responsibility and the effect that you have in Chinuch is one of the most important things you need to take to consideration. Besides for the long run, what it will do to the child, you are literally designing the next generation. This is our responsibility. Now you're looking in our generation right now. If you have complaints on the generations, then we have to look generation back. What did they do? Ultimately, you have to constantly internalize how important is your mission. You are on a mission. You were selected by the Master of the Universe to be a parent. And the right way to do it is every day to understand, to bring it down to the level that you understand, okay, I have a job to do. How am I preparing myself? And when you're taking all these points and you actually utilize it, you'll be able to reach to a point that besides that the education you give to your kid is in the highest level, you're designing a mensch. And our sages say, Derech Eretz Kadma Torah. First make a person a mensch. Don't worry about the Torah. They'll learn Torah. If he's a mensch, he will learn Torah. He will not lie. He will not steal. He will not cheat. Needless to say, you know, we have a custom in our home. My boys, they all do Kiddush. My 3-year-old, he does Kiddush. For Chinuch and for them to be happy that they have a Kiddush cup and, you know, the attention. But my wife always tells them when they drink from their cup, give me a sip. And they always drink, they come to her, they give her from the little cup. And she tells them one day, you're going to respect your wife when you do Kiddush. And you make sure she gets a sip from your Kiddush. And you always give to your wife everything. You came to help her. So what you build into the child when he's a kid, it will mimic it. It will become like a mold. I don't know if that's the right word, but like a custom fit. Whatever you put into the child, children repeat it themselves. Look at your own self. You have habits from when you were a kid. You carry it out with you. You want to make sure that the child sees the certain patterns and it becomes their second nature. So all these little things, whether you need to internalize it in your memory or write it down or put it on the fridge or whatever, every little thing that you do directly affects every child, every person. Needless to say, the amount of nachat you get in the future and the amount of nachat you get when there's grandchildren, because they will give the children what you gave them. And you want to see in your grandchildren your fruits. I did that. I gave that. Forget about now. I'm not talking about in an ego way. It's a nachat. I was able to come down to the world and leave a mark. I'm leaving behind me a path that somebody once say, oh, you know, yeah, the great-grandfather, the great-grandmother, oh. Up until the last day of my grandmother's day, she died when she was 92 years old. Up until the last day, she kept saying, oh, my father did this, my Zaidi used to do that. This goes engraved in the memory. So you are literally a role model of a child, and you are a hero. You are the hero of the child. So, you know, the hero cannot mess up. I mean, here and there you can mess up a little bit. But the point is that if you're already messing up, you have to be mature enough to come and say to the child, I messed up. We mess up sometimes, but we clean up the mess. and we know how to reverse it. Every little word that comes out of your mouth has to be calculated. Every movement has to be calculated. And it's so important because you are leaving this mark on the child. So B'ezrat Hashem, you should take the little that we talked about, and we can maybe even do that. All our shiurim is just talking about chinuch. Bemet, what I told you now is nothing. It's not even the Rashi Prakim, the head of the chapters in chinuch. I mean, there's a lot of good books in chinuch. Actually, there's a lot of good books in chinuch, coming from many different opinions. But the real chinuch is practically doing it. And the ultimate source that will give us the right tools is only the Torah. The Torah will constantly teach. If you look, the Torah. Last week, we read the Aseret Dibrot, 2 weeks ago. Aseret Dibrot is like the DNA of everything. And if you're looking at the 10 Commandments, it goes by hierarchy. The most important was said the first, and the least important is last. Look at where honor your father and mother is. Way before not to kill, not to commit adultery, not to steal. Number 5. Number 5, the Kadosh Baruch Hu is already, you have to learn to respect and honor your parents. Now respect you earn, you don't demand. Excuse me?
Not love, respect.
But also respect, you earn it. You don't demand it. Every little word that comes out of your mouth, every action has to be calculated and thought and planned, and you have a partner. You have to discuss it with a partner. You sit with your partner once a week, once every 2 weeks, and make plans. What are we doing with the kids? Where are we taking them? Where are we improving their life? How can we make them better and better? The point is, there's a lot of things to do. B'ezrat Hashem, I hope I gave you a little bit of material to think about. But B'ezrat Hashem, Hashem should bless you that you should have the da'at and the knowledge and the koach and the patience to be able to design and to construct unbelievable human beings that will go later on to the world and represent your home, will present our nation, will present our country throughout the generations. And B'ezrat Hashem, with the power of the chinuch and what we put in our kids, just because of the power of the merits of the kids, we can merit to have the Mashiach to come very soon. Yes, you can ask a lot of questions.